Hello and welcome back to the Enricher Business Circle, the podcast for leaders who are building profitable and future-proof businesses. I'm your host, Rickdrieka Bennett. On today, we truly have an amazing guest. Our guest today has literally done it all in the world of hospitality. He's flipped burgers, managed upscale scale dining, owned multiple bars, and now he uses his vast experience to coach bars and restaurant owners on how to actually achieve and most importantly be profitable. He's the founder of the Bar Business Coach, an award-winning author and the founder of QuixSpec, a financial intelligence platform that's bringing AI to the forefront of the industry. Please welcome Chris Schneider. Chris, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a wonderful opportunity to be able to talk with you today.
Awesome. So, Chris, most of the time with this podcast, we always like to hear the why or the journey behind what started. And your journey is somewhat of the definition that of the theme of starting from the bottom, from fast food to tech founder. What were some key lessons or what were the early days like that kind of really pushed you forward to today?
Well, I think with hospitality, we end up with a lot of people that end up just stuck in it. And that is something that's not necessarily true of other industries where you have people that, if you want to be a banker, you go out and you try to be a banker. If you want to be a 15-year-old with a job, you start bussing tables, washing dishes, doing things like that. And then some of us just get stuck. And so when I was a kid, my parents owned a restaurant, a couple restaurants. And so I grew up in the industry. They did other stuff as well, but they owned some restaurants. So I grew up in those restaurants. And when came time to go to college, I went, okay, what do I know how to do? Well, I know how to work in restaurants. So I studied restaurants. And then I got out of college and they were doing, my parents' places were all higher end. So I said, you know what? I know high end. I need to know fast food. So I went and I worked at fast food. I'll tell you what, right now, don't go work for a fast food company. It sucks. But but it gave me some really good experience. It helped round out my knowledge in the industry. And from there, I went ahead and I just bought a bar because I said, you know what? I don't like working for people. So I bought a bar, did that for a while. But the real why behind all this is more or less, it's what I knew and it's what I had been doing. And I was kind of it was the easier path initially because it's what I was involved in from the time I was like 14 years old.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so you basically had it ingrained in you from a very young age, which is truly amazing. Where most people kind of pivot from where they start to get to where they are now. So, so with that of having it ingrained from a very young age, let's kind of talk about like some losses because like as you grow, things change. And even based on your coaching, what are like one or two of the biggest places where bars and restaurant owners are consistently losing money and not realizing since you've kind of been ingrained in this process?
Yeah, so I do a lot of my coaching work and consulting work is around the financial side of things. So I spend a lot of time looking at dollars and cents and numbers and KPIs and lean management and all that sort of good stuff. When it comes to big losses, I mean, there are a couple of them that I would point to in my own experience. And one of them is the bar I had the longest. I had a bad landlord. I had a whole issue with him that ended up putting me out of business. And so it's one of those things I always like to bring up because when you think of losses, usually you think of, okay, I screwed something up. I messed up. I can learn something from this.
Right.
You can also lose in retail or hospitality if you cannot continue the lease on your space. And so I was making money. I had a good business. There was no issue structurally, but what my landlord wanted and what I was able to pay, and I wouldn't have been making as much, really any money based upon what he wanted to do. And so he just priced me out and that closed my business.
Oh,
so
wow.
you can be very successful and fail. And the other story I will point out in hospitality that's very successful and fail is actually my parents. So my parents had a restaurant in Indiana where they were the only restaurant in Indiana to be inducted in the Fine Dining Hall of Fame. Doesn't exist anymore, but back in the day, that was a big deal.
Mhm.
And they were in national publications. They were on the cover of industry magazines, all sorts of stuff. And that was the 90s, early 2000s when fine dining was really popular. People wanted to go out and have the white tablecloths and wine and dine and drink the French wines and do all that stuff.
Mhm.
Well, what happened in 2001? Well, you had 9/11, you had an economic collapse, and then everything got more casual, right? If you think back 20 years ago, you could not go to a restaurant that was fancy that didn't have tablecloths.
Right.
Now you can go drop, I don't know, $1,000 on dinner, and there's not a tablecloth or a real napkin in sight. So we've become more casual. And so they had this restaurant that was, by all means, critically, probably the best restaurant ever in the state of Indiana, and was national publicity, well known, top chefs, all this stuff that you would think leads you to be successful. But what happened was the market moved around them. They were
Mhm.
still this high end, fancy food. And I, quite frankly, got to watch my dad lose a lot of money, which wasn't great by any means. But it really goes to show that, especially when we're talking hospitality,
Mhm.
if your clients don't, if your customers, your guests, your clients, whatever you want to call them, if they don't like what you're serving and how you're doing it, who cares how good you are? Who cares what the critics think, right? It all comes down to cash flow and to money. So within hospitality, there are ways to lose when you're winning because of outside forces like landlords. There are also ways to appear to be winning when we look at critical acclaim, when we look at publicity and all of that, but not actually have the cash flow to have a sustainable business.
Mhm. I definitely agree. I think one of the biggest things that I tell clients when it comes to content, especially in the world of AI, everything that you see is not real. Um, so don't base every assumption off of what you're seeing right now. And not only that, there are a lot of people who are influencers who get paid to make it look like their lifestyle is a certain way, and who are selling things, and then because you see their lifestyle being a certain way, you feel like they're successful or they're doing certain things. So you have to really be careful with it looks good on paper, but it's not really good.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember this one, but there was a guy, I want to say probably about 10 years ago, right when coaching started to become a thing.
Mhm.
And he was doing all this online marketing, and he had rented a house in LA, rented a bunch of fancy cars, and the house he rented had this giant library in it full of books. And his whole marketing spiel was, I've read all these books, these are my cars. Well, he made a bunch of money. It was all fake, right? And that's just some dude with a couple grand chilling in LA. That's before AI. That's before everything now that can make it fake.
Right.
And so I think particularly when it comes to the coaching consulting side of things, it's really important to find people that are actually legit and don't just look legit from the outside.
Right. I think we're in an age where it's so easy to vet a person that I don't understand why people aren't vetting people the way that they should be. Like we have Google, we have ChatGPT that can basically compile anything we need to know about that person and their business, and we're definitely not leveraging that to the fullest.
Absolutely true.
So let's segue.
Mhm.
Since we were just talking about technology, let's kind of segue towards technology a little bit more, and especially around AI and how AI is rolling in very fast. Um,
Mhm.
for service-based businesses or even business owners who might think that AI may not be for small businesses, how do you explain what it can actually do for their local services or their local business?
So if we're talking small business, I like to look at AI kind of in a couple buckets.
Okay.
One of them is AI tools that you're paying for. So
Mhm.
not where you're not necessarily using the AI, but AI is doing things for you. And so like one example of that could be say motion, just because it's up on my other screen here, which is my calendar app,
Right.
right? So it has AI built in. I don't know how it does what it does, but it tells me what to do all day, every day, because I put tasks in it. It tells me when to do them.
Right.
So that's a perfect example of I have no clue what the AI is in it. I have no clue how it works. I really don't even care. It's useful. It's a tool. It's available to me. I pay for it. I use it. So that's one piece of AI. And I think for a lot of folks, there is a lot of stats we see out there right now about like, oh, 95% of business owners are using AI or whatever crazy stat it is.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is stuff like that. It's tools you may or may not even realize have AI in them that you are currently using. Right. So there's kind of that bucket. Then we have a bucket where it is kind of augmented AI. And so, you go into a POS system or you go into QuickBooks or you go into any of these and they now have that AI chatbot.
Mm-hmm.
So that in that way, okay, yeah, you're using AI, but it's just kind of integrated in. It's a simple retrieval program, right? That's just going and pulling from whatever program that is in your data in there. So that would be the second bucket. And then the third bucket, we can kind of call really using AI, because both those other two, you're just kind of using something somebody put there for you, right? It's just a tool. Really using AI is when I would say we're going into the actual AI programs and working with them. Now, that can look like anything from how most small business people that I know are using it, which is going into Chat GPT or Claude or Gemini or something and saying, hey, write me a Facebook post, to say what we've done with QuixSpec, where we took Claude Code and we said, I want you to help me make this giant program.
Right.
And now we have, I don't know, like 1 million lines of code and all this stuff we've generated through AI over time. And so a lot of us are using it every day in ways that we don't even realize, because we're just using an end product that has AI or ML built in under it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the time we're using it in ways that people are just presenting to us where, it's a chat bot or something like that. That's pretty simple. And then you can use it as in a small business, anything from, basically make your own computer programs to just how do I write a Facebook post?
Right.
The good part is, I think for most small business owners right now, writing Facebook posts, AI is really good at. Writing Instagram posts, it's really good at, right? Doing simple marketing copy, doing promotion ideas, helping you brainstorm. It's great at those things.
Mm-hmm.
And that requires essentially zero barrier to entry, right? You can go to chatgpt.com, ask a question, and start getting some ideas there. Now, I will say I also teach. So I spend a lot of time looking at things students write and saying, okay, is this AI? And it is very true that if you have ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or any of these programs write your Facebook post for you, it's probably going to look a little bit like AI, right? I mean, it's getting a lot better. These AI releases we've seen in the last 3-4 months have improved that quite a bit and gotten away from things like AI used to use a lot of weird transition words. It doesn't do that as much.
Yeah, that dwell and landscape and odyssey and I definitely agree with you on that. And I feel that people don't realize that they've been using AI for years. If you were using Alexa or Siri, you were using a form of AI. Especially the chatbot feature that's on websites, that's a form of AI that they were already released ahead of time, but we didn't even really know about it. And now AI is so advanced that people really don't even notice it, especially for the medical field. They've already just started building nanobots that can go in your blood and fix things based off of AI. And people are like, oh, well, I don't know how to do this and that. And I can tell people that when you're using AI, you need to be a critical thinker around AI, because your input is what your output is going to be. And a lot of people don't realize that, and they feel that they can just put a statement and get something that's going to be spot on. And you probably won't get what really sound like you until you get to like that second or third revision based on your very first prompt.
Yeah, and something to kind of keep in mind with AI, regardless of if you're just trying to make a Facebook post or you're trying to build a whole company out of it, and a computer program, a lot of this, people have talked a lot about like prompt engineering.
Mm-hmm.
The prompt that has worked best for me over the longest run is make more better. So you don't need a high-end prompt to get AI to get results, right? I literally type in make more better and it makes it more better. But what people haven't been talking as much about that is huge is context engineering. So say it's something that you really can't do unless you're paying for something or you're using like Google Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
because you can tie that in with your Google Docs.
Right.
Or if you're paying for ChatGPT or Claude, you can upload things in there for context.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want AI that sounds like you, give it a whole bunch of examples of stuff you've written and then say, write it like this, right? AI is not magic, right? It's literally just a bunch of ones and zeros that are figuring out
what
to put next based on probability, right? I mean, it's a CSV file at the end of the day, basically. So it's just looking for things that it knows it can relate together. And when you give it a whole lot of context, when you give it a bunch of your writing, it will write just like you.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I have the podcast, because I write books and stuff, I have a huge amount of content. All of my content flows back into my AI that I use to generate content.
Mm-hmm.
I can write Facebook posts, blog posts, whatever. They sound exactly like me because it has tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of words that I have said and written over the last 15 years in it. So when AI doesn't work for people, everybody wants to go this, I need a better prompt. I need this, I need that. No. You need context. And you have to give it either, if you want it to sound like you, your own writing. If you want it to be able to analyze financial data, you have to give it the financial data. Right? And even context can go so far as to be things like, I want to come up with a marketing plan, so I'm going to upload a bunch of academic research on marketing plans. And if you just say marketing plan to any of the AIs, they'll write you a marketing plan. If you upload academic research papers about marketing plans first, it'll write you a heck of a lot better marketing plan.
I definitely agree, because like with me, I have trained all of my AIs on every platform where they have my context. So each one of my assistants have access to those platforms. So I have my custom GPT on ChatGPT that they use. On Copilot, we have Copilot trained where they have our words, the brand, the color. So even if it spit out something, it's already color coded to the brand, where we don't have to go back and edit and reformat it and make it look like the brand. But I definitely tell people, like, it's essential. And when you're using the different chat GPTs and using the different forms of AI, especially like Google Gemini has upgraded so amazing to the point that it can update your own headshots for you and change clothing and still look you and realistic. It doesn't look like another person. So by being able to tell it what to do the right way, you can get amazing results instead of having to go schedule a photo shoot and do a lot of other stuff to prepare.
Absolutely true.
So let's talk more about QuixSpec.
Okay.
I know that it's an AI platform that you're leveraging for your clients and things like that. And how does it really tackle those, like leveraging things so that you can make sure you're getting profit?
So how this all started, and I think, because this is kind of an interesting thing to point out, one of the things that you hear a lot is that AI is going to put people out of work.
Right.
And I fundamentally believe that's true, kind of. and why I say true, kind of, is the people that are probably most at risk from having AI take over their work are like the programmers, because they taught it how to program really, really well. So that's kind of a funny inherent thing that happened. But doing financial analysis and stuff, that's another thing that AI is really good at. AI is really good at stats. It's really good at data. It's really good at churning through data. And so in the spring, I was sitting around and I was thinking to myself, I'm going, oh shit, I do all this financial analysis. AI can do all this financial analysis. I have all this industry context AI doesn't have, and my answers are better. But why is someone going to pay me $2,000 when you can probably get some program in a year that costs $200
Right.
and get the same information and the same analysis? I said, well, that's not a very good long-term strategy for me. I said, well, maybe I should just make the program. So I decided to make the program. And simultaneously with that, I had a buddy of mine who's an oil economist that left his job, and he ended up working with us. So we have a real forecasting economist, and then I have a tech guy.
Okay.
And so we all came together, and the whole idea here was to be in that first set of AI programs we were talking about, the ones that you don't even really realize are AI.
Okay.
Because when I think about people that own bars and restaurants, right? As far as small business owners go, that's one of the largest groups out there. Because there are a lot of independent bars and restaurants across the US. It's also a group that has to work a whole bunch. Like, I mean, 50-hour weeks are pretty much the norm, right? A lot of people I talk to, we're talking about trying to get from an 80-hour week down to a 50-hour week, right? Let alone from a 50 to a 10-hour week, which is where I really want business owners to be, but they're working really hard. So a lot of times they don't have the time to do the financial analysis, which is why that's why I coach it. And that's why I do consulting around it.
Mm-hmm.
But what we wanted to do was put together a program that did this for them. The other big gap that existed in hospitality is forecasting. So in a lot of industries, sales forecasting is not that difficult. Because generally speaking, things are pretty flat. Right. And by flat, I mean, they maybe have a little growth, but consulting, coaching or something, our businesses all tend to be pretty flat. Right. You just bill every month. If you're in marketing, you just bill every month. It's pretty flat. You might gain a client, you might lose a client. Your business is going to go up and down a little bit, but you don't have these giant shifts on what you sell Saturday compared to what you sell on Tuesday.
Right.
Right. You bill every month and you just do that. So with hospitality, we have this crazy graphs where we have all this variability that makes it really hard to forecast. And people, because of that, didn't want to really forecast. And then you had the big companies that would forecast, the chains and stuff. They could forecast because they had all this aggregate data across 100, 200 stores. It becomes really easy to put some statistical correlations together. So what we did with QuixSpec was we built out essentially a context engineering machine that connects with the client's POS data. And we're working on connecting with QuickBooks data too, to bring it in, actually be able to do a forecast, not based upon industry standards, not based upon anything that is generic, but taking a proprietary model we developed for the forecast and then overlaying the client's context in there, how many hours they're open, what days they're open, where they are, what sporting events impact them, how weather impacts their business, things like that. And then by putting those two pieces together, we created we think, but I shouldn't get too far ahead of myself, but I'm 99.9% sure. What we've created is a very scalable, very accurate forecasting system where we don't make assumptions. We rely on the customer's data, the customer's context. Okay. And the only way to be able to do that at scale is through AI. So AI is not the product, but AI is the only way to deliver the product.
And I am on the other scale of the spectrum where I don't really, I do think AI will replace some people, but when it comes to replacing people, I think it's going to be the ones who don't know how to use AI and aren't trying to embrace AI. Because it's not going anywhere. It's just enhancing and evolving over time. And I also saw where a lot of employers are going to require that as an element for their employees is knowing how to use it. But because the market is getting flooded with a lot of different tech solutions, what do you think that business owners should be looking at when they're evaluating like AI or tech tools for their business?
So that can get a little complex, and a lot of it depends on what is actually going to help you, right? And that's kind of with tech. A lot of times we want the shiny thing,
right?
right? I mean, I have an iPhone. I think everybody has iPhones nowadays, or most people have iPhones. I feel like people wait in line for like 5 hours to get one of these in the cold in the morning when they first come out. That's not, as a business owner, how you should be about tech, right? You should not be so excited to be the first adopter that you're waiting and you're just trying to pull all this in. Doesn't mean you shouldn't necessarily work with new companies, because I'm a new company and I'm not going to say that. But what it does mean is that you should really think about, okay, does this help me? And a great way to look at does this help me is it something that I am doing that takes time, or is this something I should be doing that I'm not? So like with what I'm selling from an AI perspective, which is financial analytics, business intelligence software, are you doing KPIs? Are you looking at forecasting? Are you doing any of this? Well, if you're not, okay, well then talk to me and let's get you doing that.
Mhm.
If you are doing this, how much time does it take you? Because if you can pay me a couple $100 a month to save you 8 hours a week, oh, okay, that's a heck of a deal.
Right.
But what I see a lot of people want to do is input or utilize tech for the sake of tech. And then either A, they never actually fully set it up, right? And I see this a lot in business tech where you have these complex systems, particularly in bars and restaurants, around things like inventory management and cost controls and things. Well, yeah, it might be a great piece of tech, but it's going to take you 3 weeks to set it up properly, and you better learn how it all works, and you better go through the knowledge base and all this stuff, and people don't do it, and then they're just paying $300, $400, $500 a month for something they're not using. Or the other thing where I see a lot of people do, they'll get something that is cool because it's cool, but it doesn't actually save them any time or provide them any real value, so they're just spending money.
Right.
So I think for small business, it all comes down to, does it save me time? Is it something I should be doing? Or is it something I'm doing that takes me a bunch of time where it's just cheaper to pay somebody else to do it?
Mm. I definitely agree with you on that, because I feel that a lot of people are going down the rabbit hole of AI and they don't have like an end goal of why they want to use it. They just know AI
Mhm.
is the new thing, so let me hop on this trend, but don't have a goal behind using it. And there's going to be so overwhelming content of AI being released monthly. So I feel that if you're going to use it, use what suits your business versus trying to just jump on that trend.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And real quick, just if I may,
mhm,
the interesting thing you just said, where it's increasing. When we started working on QuixSpec in May,
mhm,
there was one or two companies that said, "Hey, we're going to do forecasting for restaurants." Nobody wants to touch it. It's too hard. We knew that.
right.
Now there are a whole bunch of people saying, "Oh yeah, we want to do that," and they're trying. And that's going to be the really hard part, is that we're about to have this glut of AI companies that come out,
Mhm.
and it's going to be very difficult for people to tell what's good.
It was not.
Right. And so everybody and their brothers throwing out AI, and most of it, quite frankly, kind of sucks. So if you're going to buy something, pay attention, see what deals you can get, see if you can get free trials and whatnot, but also talk to other people in your industry that are using it to see what actually works and what doesn't before you commit to anything, especially some of these companies where they try to lock into annual contracts and things like that.
Right. I definitely agree. If it's a company that's trying to lock you into an annual contract, especially with AI, I wouldn't hop on with that company, because AI is always upgrading and getting better. And you may lock into an annual contract with someone, and then another platform roll out that's better than the platform you're currently with, and that was a waste of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with all of the AI that's rolling out, one of the biggest fears that I think that a lot of people have is that it's going to kill like that human touch. What is your take on blending like the data driven insights, but still being able to make a custom feel welcomed or feel some type of human connection?
So it's all going to depend on the industry, right?
Okay.
Some industries, I think we really are going to see a lack of human touch, right? And if we're talking within food service, things like fast food.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have like been driving down the road and stopped at a McDonald's or a Burger King or a Wendy's or anything like that recently, but good luck finding a person at the front counter, right? All those places are now kiosks. And you go through the drive-through, and a lot of them now are AI talking to you. So places like that, we will lose personal touch.
Mhm.
On the other end, though, I think in a lot of ways, AI, particularly in hospitality, is going to allow us to have a more of a personal touch.
Okay.
So let's take, you know, everybody at home, you can just pick a bar or restaurant you like to go to that's a normal one, right? Not fast food, but like a normal place you sit down. If that manager is spending 4 or 5 hours a week looking at financial data in the back and running numbers, they're not on the floor taking care of guests. Okay.
Right.
Get QuixSpec that solves that. If that manager is having issues with writing employee training materials, writing social media posts, writing whatever, okay, now there's AI programs that help with that. So
Mhm.
if you can free up management time, that gives managers now more time to focus on their team and more time to focus on their guests.
Right.
So you should have a better customer experience. You should have a better employee experience. And one thing I'm really big on, mostly, right, I talk hospitality, but this would be true in retail or any really service-based business. As an owner, how you treat your employees is how they treat your customers.
Right.
So if you free up your time to take really good care of your employees as an owner and or manager, then they're going to take better care of your customers. So AI should take us to a place where customer experience is paramount, where we can have a lot more time for person-to-person interaction because we're not doing, for lack of a better way to put it, stupid, repetitive clerical work as much. And that's going to be on the good side. On the bad side, I think we are going to see a lot of convenience stores, fast food, maybe even drugstores, different, Walmart, some of these places cut labor and use AI to fill that gap. So we're going to see less customer service, I feel like, in some places, and way better and more customer service in other places.
Okay. Well, Chris, this was definitely an amazing conversation. I guess my last question for you would be, when it comes to AI and technology in any service-based industry within the next years, what do you think it will look like?
This is a hard one, right? Because there's a few things here that we don't know. If I'm real honest, one of them is how much better are the models going to get? So when we're looking at AI, right, this all runs on different models. I think we all realize that whatever ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini is giving us, there's probably 2 or 3 models ahead of that exist.
Mm-hmm.
But those are probably controlled by the government, and we'll probably never see them. So that's neither here nor there. But what is true is these models are reaching a point where it's getting harder for them to improve. And we're seeing a point where with some of the models, we have divergent things people want.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you think about ChatGPT, back a couple months ago, improved or upgraded their model, and then a bunch of people were mad because it was less personable. It wasn't, as almost sloppy in its answers in being human like. It got a lot more clinical. Well, that's bad if you want AI to be your friend. That's really good if you want to use AI to make products and to code and to do real business stuff. So we've gone a lot way down that consumer path. I think we're starting to see, and in the process of that turn more towards, okay, yeah, it's fun to chat with, but what can it actually do for my business? How can I actually utilize this to make money? So I think we're going to see more of that. But I think the big thing that's about to happen is less quick advancement that people see on the consumer end, and a lot more advancement on the back end when it comes to actually putting in place business tools and things for people to go and utilize.
Right. Well, Chris, I can definitely say that this has been an incredible discussion for today. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and helping other businesses by pouring out a stronger bottom line about different aspects and experiences that you have taken on in business. And those who are listening or watching, you can connect with Chris at QuixSpec.com. You can see it scrolling across the screen as well. And there will be other links where you can connect with him in the podcast description for future references, or if you need some type of resources about hospitality and AI. And thank you to all my listeners for listening in on today and joining this episode of the Enricher Business Circle. Remember, the goal isn't to work in your business, but to work on your business. Technology is the tool that makes it possible. And until next time, keep enriching yourself and your business.